Memorable day for rugby in the Eastern Cape. Heritage Rugby at its finest.
And we are fortunate to bring it to everybody at home so that they can listen and know the reasons why the whistle whistles when it whistles.
Moments in time for each and every player on that field.
Focus this week with what is fast becoming a staple for rugby fans around South Africa, and it is such an absolute pleasure to be a part of it and be along for the ride. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Heritage Rugby, of course, and to get the lowdown of just how this product on SABC Sport in conjunction with SEI Sport is going to be growing from strength to strength on your screens across this rugby year. Let's hear now from the Chief Executive Officer of Heritage Rugby, Dwayne Heath. Good to have you on, Squire.
Thanks very much, Udo.
Hey, listen, absolutely fantastic to have you on. But since our partnership began, Dwayne, I'm beginning to realize just how each province in South Africa has this magical club tournament in its own right, and each tournament sort of has its own place in South African history and folklore. And the biggest realization, though, for me, it's just after that final where Progress defended its title against Harlequins in the Eastern Cape Super 14 was, and we've heard people say this so many times, the Eastern Cape is definitely the bona fide home of black rugby in South Africa.
Absolutely. I mean, if you followed the tournament, anyone who followed the tournament, we had, it was the Super 14, so we had 14 clubs. Representing the Eastern Province and Border Rugby Unions, but effectively representing the best of talent in the Eastern Cape. And if we look at 30 players per team, that's over 400 black players, predominantly black players that had a showcase in this tournament. So any scouts or coaches who were there during the tournament would have seen some of the best talent on display that haven't been picked up anywhere else. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that there were some seriously talented players who have just needed some exposure.
Not enough, because they've stripped this away. Now, they've played it out wide. Have an opportunity here for a run. Colonel Hendricks does fantastically. Kept it alive with the hands there and then the boot. And it's the fly off for Progress who gets over the line. They call him magic. He's created just that.
And that's what the Eastern Cape Super 14 gave us.
Listen, just off the cuff, what was absolutely amazing as well was to see how the fans are responding. And I suppose you guys and SABC Sport are hitting a magic formula in taking rugby to where the community's heart effectively beats. And I say that dramatically, but it's the truth.
It is the truth. Community rugby is alive and well, and there's a lot of debates higher up the rugby food chain, which should be of concern to everybody, because every part of the food chain in rugby is interdependent on the other one. But the professional side is battling to bring in spectators at the moment. But that's not the case with community rugby. I think people are identifying with their local heroes. Kids go to the ground and they see their uncles and their fathers playing on the field. And I think that's the wonderful thing about community rugby, that people can identify with it. And also it's a cheap day out. 20 Rand gets you into the ground. Beers are cheap and the bar does well. And it's just a wonderful day out for a family that doesn't cost the earth and very much is rooted in the community. And I think that's the magic formula.
Let's hear from the president of the KZN Rugby Union, Brian Van Zyl, about what is set to happen this coming season.
We at the KZNRU are over the moon that club rugby is going to be televised again. With the demise of the Gold Cup a year or two ago, there's been very little exposure for club rugby. Last year we unfortunately had to suspend rugby at club level due to COVID. And here we are at the start of a new season where we believe with what coverage we're going to get through SABC 2 and 3 and with our new partners SEI in terms of broadcasting, we're going to have an unbelievable product that we want to sell to our supporters.
So Dwayne, we've heard from the president. Let me hear from you. Any takers on who we really need to look out for in KZN this season?
Well, traditionally, the two big clubs are College Rovers and Durban Collegians. They've been the two big clubs for donkey's years. Collegians have won the Moore Cup on more occasions than any other club. In recent times, they've largely played second fiddle to Rovers, although it's a very, very close rivalry. So I think in terms of a winner, I don't think we need to look much further than those two teams, although you never quite know what's going to happen. It's a 9-team format this year, double round, so they're going to play over 16 weeks. And there's some new teams in. There's 3 universities in this year. UKZN, Peter Maritzburg are joined by their Durban counterparts. And UKZN in Durban back in the day had a certain Wynand Klaassen who played for them. Rassie Erasmus, the director of rugby of SA Rugby and the World Cup winning coach, he had a very, very short stint at Collegians, and that's the kind of luminaries who are associated with these giant clubs in Durban.
You know, I'm going to go with your anything can happen attitude. After the Super 14 this season, where I think 90% of the games that we had on screen were come from behind wins. Anything really can happen in KZN. But let's move now to Gauteng, up into the Highveld, where it's been a trying season or a trying time for rugby in the province to just keep head above water, to keep the players playing with all the restrictions that we had over the last 2 years. And we just went and had a chat with Neville Jardine, Lions president, to find out where things are at in Gauteng.
You know, it's been a challenging period just to keep the clubs alive, and thankfully at the Lions, because of our Memorial Cup we played at the end of last year, all the clubs are ready to go. Our leagues kick off on the 5th of March, and everybody's extremely excited to begin this journey. We are determined to make sure that club rugby grows from grassroots right up to the professional team. We are so determined that we are going to be producing future Lions players, and our clubs are already working so hard to make sure that this happens.
Now, last season, Dwayne, we had and enjoyed pride of place at one of the oldest and most pedigreed sporting establishments to kick off Heritage Rugby in Johannesburg, when we featured the match, of course, at the Old Pirates Club. What is this season looking like, and who should we be keeping an eye out for in Gauteng, in Johannesburg specifically this year for the Gold Cup?
Well, it's wide open. It's absolutely wide open. We've got Pirates back again. We've got Wanderers, their arch rivals. The two oldest clubs in Joburg will do battle once again. We've got Alberton from down south. Raiders, always very, very dangerous. And then, of course, Roodepoort, who have got a great pedigree. And then they joined by 3 university clubs. The Picker from Northwest, UJ and Wits. So it's a very, very strong league with some very, very famous clubs, university and non-university.
Absolutely, and just on that, talking about the final of the Carlton Cup, to me was the highlight of Heritage Rugby, as the game at club level was played at one of the spiritual homes of South African rugby, Loftus Versfeld, and SABC Sport, SEI Sport was there to capture it for all of you. And that was an absolute highlight. The Naka Bulls, of course, triumphing over Northern eventually, 35-25, in what was just a thrilling end-to-end final. So we're expecting more of the same from the Carlton Cup this year. But let's hear from the president of the Bulls, Willem Strauss, as he relives those magical moments.
The Carlton League final last year was televised live on SABC2. That created massive audience and massive interest in the league. And we're looking forward to build on that, maybe even more exposure, more live matches, and just growing the game. You know, being on free to TV is so important in terms of growing the game, this beautiful game of ours, reaching people that we don't usually have a market to. So very excited about it.
Dwayne, this may be the Western Province come Bulls convert in me speaking, but I am supremely excited about what is going to happen in the nation's capital as far as Heritage Rugby is concerned this year, for the simple fact that where the Bulls kind of set themselves apart at this club level is they've taken every professional player that is on their books and they've said you've got to have an affiliation with the local clubs, and each player has that association now, and you get a sense of some of the old bullies, the experienced players at club level, some of the youngsters coming through, being exposed to what effectively is the benchmark for playing at the highest level in South Africa involved in their club structure?
Well, I think Jake White and Willem Strauss, the president, have to take enormous credit because they really believe in the club product. They really believe that it can make a difference and that it can add value to the professional side of things. And I was at Pretoria Harlequins last year when a whole bunch of contracted Bulls players came down and were presented with their Harlequins jerseys, those contracted players who had been assigned to Harlequins. And I mean, Trevor Nyakane was there, a World Cup winning Springbok. Chris Smith, who's come on in leaps and bounds at Flower for the Bulls this year. And they couldn't get enough of it. They stayed until late in the night at the pub, having one or two cold ones. They didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't want to leave. And the true spirit of club camaraderie really came through in that these professional guys really just enjoyed themselves at their local club. And that's exactly what they are. They're members of a club again. And I think that's something that Jake and Willem identified as having really been eroded in the professional era. And they are bringing it back. And I think it's a real nice synergy where the top clubs and the professional side have really close bonds.
So, Dwayne, final word here on In Focus falls to you. What are your thoughts, your feelings around what is set to happen in the nation's capital, around Pretoria for the Carlton Cup? And also, all of this, eventually, Heritage Rugby, the umbrella body Heritage Rugby, will culminate in the Heritage Cup.
Heritage Rugby, already the most popular rugby series in South Africa on South African television, and we haven't even got started yet. The last match of the season in terms of the series is the Murray Cup final in Durban on the 8th of October, and then we're going to have the winners of the Eastern Cape, the winners of the Bulls, the Lions, and the Sharks doing battle at the end of October for the ultimate prize, which is the Heritage Cup, which then just ties it all nicely together, and we have at the end of the season a nice climax with your ultimate winner.
Now, if you thought we've already built memories, well, think again. We've only just begun here on SABC Sport with the Heritage Rugby, and more of it in the future. And that is your In Focus for this week.
Now the champions, Eastern Cape Super 14 champions, Progress.
Home Bailey Blow. Progress are champions again. Defending champions coming into this match, and they will lift the trophy once more.